Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's that time of the week where I get to show you the coolest new knives that have hit our shelves in the last 7 days. Let's check them out. Alright, so the first one I want to talk about today, but this next knife is in stock and ready to ship right now, and is the first of 2 KnifeCenter exclusives I get to debut this week. Now you may have seen SOG's new version of the Aegis AT. Well, we now have a KnifeCenter exclusive colorway right here. It's got a nice blaze orange synthetic handle with some brown or flat dark earth accents here on the thumb studs, switch, and backspacer. These do come in at the same price as the other versions at $85, and these also feature a crossbar style lock. They call it their XR lock. And as you can see, there's actually, rather than just a bar, you actually give you a little bit of a ramp to engage with your fingers right there. And this particular version is also an assisted version of their XR lock, hence the AT in the name of this particular knife. Now you do have a spine-mounted safety right here. You can lock that blade closed or open. That way it's not accidentally going to fire. But even without using it, what's nice about it, it is pretty subtle, so it is going to stay out of the way. If you never want to use it, you don't have to. And it's still going to take a pretty firm push of your thumb to get that blade started, but once you do, the assisted opening action has no problem finishing the job. The blade is about 3 1/8 of an inch long, nice wide drop point shape with a full flat grind, and it's not a super thick blade stock either, so this is going to be a phenomenal slicing knife. It's certainly great for everyday carry. This is actually the type of blade I really gravitate to, this type of thickness, this type of geometry. But of course, especially with this nice bright orange handles, it's going to be a great knife if you happen to be someone who likes to take a folding knife out on a hunt, because you've got that good colorway, help you see it when things get a little dark out, and of course, all kinds of belly and great slicing profile for skinning needs right there. It is, of course, an assisted opening knife, though, as I said, so make sure you keep the internals clean. There's a bit more to take care of there in that regard versus a fixed blade. But if you wanted to take this, it would certainly do a good job. The other thing I like about these too is the handles on these are quite comfortable. The one thing I was worried about when I first saw these was this little lanyard hole here, or this lanyard protrusion here. But even with my slightly larger than average hands, it's not getting in the way at all. Like, I don't even hit it actually. But even if I were to choke back, it actually doesn't feel uncomfortable because it just kind of kicks your pinky out just a little bit. It just kind of changes the way you hold the knife. Again, on a minor level, but that's not going to get in the way like I expected it might have. All right, the next knife is another KnifeCenter exclusive, as I mentioned, and it's from Real Steel. This is a new version of their Luna slip joint, and right now we're running this for an introductory price of $29.95, so it's just under $30 for a really classy looking slip joint, especially in this exclusive color version right here. We've got a D2 blade, about 2 3/4 of an inch long, black coated finish with a white G10 handle on both sides. Of course, it's both sides, it's a slip joint after all. So it's a really cool, almost Stormtrooper-esque modern traditional knife. I think it's pretty cool. Again, it's got a blade shape I really gravitate to. You got that nice subtle drop point, high flat grind, really thin blade steel, or actually full flat grind on here. And you've got twin fullers, one on each side, that act as the pull for that instead of a nail nick, which would be a more traditional type of opening method. As you can see there, the walk and talk is pretty good. You've got about a 1/3 stop as opposed to a half stop there, and it snaps open quite nicely. I wouldn't say it's a super strong snappy action, but it certainly doesn't feel like it needs to be any stronger. It's got enough there to get the job done without feeling wimpy. It certainly does not feel wimpy. What's nice, especially for the price, is the precision that's going on here. And you can see it right here on the blade grind itself. You can see the plunge line here where it comes down into this sharpening notch here, this sharpening choil. Now the heel side of that choil lines up perfectly with the start of that plunge line, and it takes pretty much just enough out to get past that wedge formed by the grinding process. So you've got a sharp edge all the way back to the heel, and of course it makes it easier to sharpen as well. One of the other cool details is a bit of jimping right here at the base of the blade. And it's kind of nice because when you're actually holding the knife, chances are, or at least the way I hold the knife, my index finger sits right over that section. So while it doesn't have like a flipper tab or anything like some of the, or obviously not a slip joint is going to have a flipper tab, but it doesn't have like a choil like some of Spyderco's modern slip joints do. Those give you a little extra degree of safety, but this does kind of a similar thing, because if it does start to close, the blade does start to close, your finger is going to be there to help arrest the motion of the blade and keep it from closing further. One of the other things you don't usually see on an old school slip joint at least is a nice pocket clip. It is a single position, right side tip up only clip, but it is very deep carry, so it's going to stay out of the way until you need it. And because it's nice and slim with no branding on the clip, coated black the way it is, it's really going to blend in and disappear. Now this next knife has some big differences, but also actually some similarities, believe it or not. We're going from a slip joint with that real steel over to an automatic from Boker Plus and Lucas Burnley, made of course by ProTech here in the USA, as all the Quake and automatics are. Now the reason I say there's some similarities is if you check out the edge profile itself, they're not identical, but there actually is a little bit of a resemblance there that I noticed when I was unpacking these knives and taking a look at them all next to each other. But this is the Boker Plus Burnley Quake and Compact Automatic, coming in at about $165 right now. As you would expect from the name Compact, this is shorter than the standard version. The blade comes in just under 3 inches long, and it's 154 cm with a nice stone-washed finish. Pretty aggressive stone-washed finish. It's not quite like a Hinderer working finish, but it's a little bit on the heavier side, and I really like the way it looks against these plain satin aluminum handles. Pocket clip is right side, tip up only. And you do have a nice lanyard spot here at the back, mounted from the actual end of the knife. So any lanyard you do put there would be heading straight out the back, which is cool. Last thing to talk about really is the action. And of course it's a ProTech, so you know it's gonna be good if you're familiar with their stuff. Click that button and it's definitely good. It even has that ProTech sound. There's something about the way they do things. And I never thought I would be able to say this at any point in the past, but having handled a number of automatic knives in my time here at the KnifeCenter, ProTechs just have a certain sound, and it's really satisfying to know you're able to discern that. I don't know what that says about me, but I'll leave that to the comments section to decide. All right, I've actually got another Boker, but the first thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to skip back to that after I show you a new batch now we've got of the Squid Industries Triton Balisong Trainer. These come in at about $130, and we've got 3 versions. We've got the blue handles I've got here, as well as black and a standard satin aluminum. These are made in the USA, and of course the defining feature of the Triton Trainer is an integral handle on each side, or an aluminum channel handle construction. As you can see, they're single piece, so there's nothing to come loose. There's nothing to kind of get caught up on your grip, just a simple, smooth, easy to control handle as you're practicing your tricks. As far as the action goes, I don't have a ton of experience flipping a bally. I can kind of do my open and close quite easily, but the action it does feel very good to me. You've got brass there in the pivots, holds things nice and steady, and very smooth as well. They don't need bearings to get a smooth action going here. But if you're looking for a truly premium Balisong trainer, especially if you don't want to latch on it, really these Squid Industries Tritons are a great place to look. All right, back to Boker with another, technically another limited edition knife, or at least serialized. This is the Burnley 2020 Collection Flipper, and they're limited to just 500 pieces worldwide. And you can see this particular one, serial number 493 right here. Obviously you can tell this is a bigger knife, and in fact we're gonna carry that big theme through the next several knives we look at, but this one comes in at about $412 right now. And I did say another limited knife because that Quake earlier is actually serialized as well. You can see right here, this is it's 6s and 9s upside down, or hard to read, 269 out of 300. But back to the Burnley 2020, it is a titanium frame lock flipper done exceptionally well. Blade, 4 inches long, M390 steel. Obviously you can tell we've got a drop point here with flat grinds and a swedge, and a little bit of a decorative fuller here. It's not so much, well actually, I say it's not so much an opening method. Yeah, and I'll maintain that. It doesn't really stick out enough for you to get your thumb in there. But of course, it is a flipper. We've got ball bearings in the pivot, so good action. Titanium handles are sculpted nicely. They're not super aggressive, so they don't feel uncomfortable in the hand. And then of course, you've got that nice marbled carbon fiber inlay on both the front and the back. And it is recessed just a little bit, which is in contrast to the way some folks like to do it, where it's either flush or sticking up. This has sort of a, I guess, what do you call that? A pillow embossed? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. There you go. You got your milled pocket clip. your lock bar insert there, basically everything a modern titanium frame lock flipper needs in this limited edition package. All right, next up we've got 4 new knives from Steel Will. This is the Bar Guest flipper, and there's 2 sizes and 2 finishes each. You got the large and the small. You know, the large ones here are about $76, or about $76.49 exactly. The smaller ones are $72.24. So really, there's just $4 between them price-wise, so really just go by your preference. There's really no difference, essentially, when it comes to the price. But each one is available, or each size is available, with a satin finish blade or with the black stonewash. Now, you folks know me, I prefer a satin finish, and I like the 3.5-inch size as opposed to the 4-inch size a little bit better, so I'm going to show you that one for the rest of this video. Now, the purpose of this particular design, Steel Will states, is as a tribute to the tactical knives, tactical folders from a few decades ago. And they're not coming right out and saying what they're talking about, but to my eye, this really looks like a reimagining of the classic Almar Sear folder. Let me know if you guys see that as well. Again, let us know in the comments, or let us know if it reminds you of something else. But I think it really holds up in that comparison to that just classic of the tactical knife genre. Blade itself here is 3.5 inches, almost exactly on the dot, in fact. And if I didn't mention it before, D2 steel, so you get a good amount of edge retention and durability as well. High flat grind, nice swedge. Really good overall working geometry, not just tactical geometry, like some of those Almar knives with their spear points were a little bit more focused towards piercing and combat. Handles themselves are black G10, and you can see you've got some recessed milling here to give you a little bit more grip. Got a liner lock to keep things closed. And one of the interesting choices they made, rather than going with bearings, they've actually gone with phosphor bronze washers in here. The action is still good. If you're familiar with any, like the Steel Will Modus or the Cut Jack, the smaller or the less expensive knives, they use bronze washers as well, and they are able to tune it so the action is very good. And the reason it makes even more sense on a quote-unquote tactical knife like this one is it's less likely to get gummed up with like dust or grime or sand if you're actually taking this out and getting it really dirty. Last but not least is the pocket clip. It is this is a right side tip-up only pocket clip, but the package, or in the box, it comes with a left-handed or a left side pocket clip, so you can carry it left or right side, and pretty deep carry too. It is angled a little bit, so it's not going to bury completely behind the hem of your pocket, but it is going to hold nice and tight and out of the way. Now, it's interesting that I talked about the bronze washers with these knives. Transitioning to this next knife, we've got new versions of the Hinderer XM24 with the TriWay pivot system. And the reason I say this is interesting, although I have to admit I did put these two next to each other on purpose, is of course for the longest time Hinderers didn't come with any kind of ball bearings. He stuck with those bronze washers for the same reason that you see it in that Steel Will. It's a little more bulletproof in the sandbox, so to speak. Now these TriWay versions do come out of the box with ball bearings in the pivot, so the flipping action is quite excellent. I've never felt an XM24 flip as nicely as this before, but if you crave that durability, if that's still on your list of priorities, TriWay actually means there's 3 sets of pivot options included in the box. You've got Teflon as well as bronze washers, and you can swap those out no problem at home to get the feel and the performance you're looking for. If you prize everyday flipping action, the ball bearings are going to be the way to go. If you want that more bulletproof nature, you've got those other options as well. But this is just one of the several new XM24s we've got in stock, all with this stonewash sheep's foot blades. Actually, we might have a few working finish ones too. I'm not quite sure. We do have a bunch, and these come in at $5.95 right now. Blade length is 4 inches, just like that bigger Steel Will right there. And of course, we've got several different G10 color options available. I happen to pick up the orange one here because I thought it looked really good with the bronze titanium on the back. And we have several colors, as I said, and a few different options for each of those colors. We've got typically, or not on every color, of course, but we've got plain stonewash titanium, we've got blue stonewash titanium, as well as some of these bronze stonewash titanium to give a different bit of a flair to the knife itself. Beyond that, it's classic Hinderer ergonomics. You've got that kind of pistol grip almost, where it points the edge of the blade down, or points the tip of the blade down just a little bit. And of course you got that nice large finger choil out there for choking up, or you can stay way back behind that prominent finger guard that really gives you virtually no chance of slipping forward onto that edge if you don't want to. I don't know why you'd want to, but you know what I mean. All right, keeping with the theme of big knives, I've got another CRKT here. Now you did probably, if you were watching our Blade Show Week coverage, you may have seen this, this new CRKT here as well, but they are in stock now, they're shipping out. This is the Jumbones Blackout, which is of course the bigger version of the Crossbones. Now available, the Jumbones was available before, but now we've got this all blackened version coming in just under $100. Blade even bigger than those 4-inch blades from before, about 4.85, an almost 5-inch blade right here with this nice trailing point profile, full flat grind, and I believe it's AUS 8 stainless steel. Yes, it's AUS 8. The action is very good. Ball bearings in this pivot, no washers here. Really smooth action. Nice matte texture to this black coating. If you didn't like the shiny nature of the other ones, this is not a gloss black, so it really is going to kind of minimize reflections if you wanted to use this in a more kind of unobtrusive role, which I find is kind of funny to even think about because it is just a big, honking, really cool knife. But what's nice about it is the way it all folds up. Despite that size, the blade is completely hidden in the handle when it's closed. There's not a lot of width going on, a little bit of thickness. It's not a super slim knife, but combine that with the single position folded over pocket clip, and this is not going to take up too terribly much room in your pocket, at least for the men out there. I think most women's pockets probably aren't deep enough to accommodate this. But if you're a guy, you should have no problem. Also making a return appearance from that CRKT video in Blade Show Week is another long, thin knife, just significantly scaled down versus the Jumbones. We've got a new version of the CEO from CRKT coming in at about $40. Now this is the same size as the original CEO. That one of course came with a satin finish blade and a synthetic handle that kind of mimicked the look of carbon fiber a little bit. Makes a great gentleman's or executive knife. This one kind of flips the script. They've given it a bamboo handle texture and given it this really bright yellow coloration. It really changes the character of the knife very significantly, I'd say. What I do like about that change, however, is it kind of leans into the Quake styling that this knife has always had. Actually, it's kind of nice to have a Quake in here to compare it to. You can kind of see what I'm talking about with that nice narrow, slender blade. The CRKTs being, of course, extremely slender, but we've got that straight back and that almost trailing profile coming up from the edge itself. Now the Quake, of course, is a Japanese knife pattern traditionally, so the bamboo thematically, I think, really fits into that. And again, kind of emphasizes that Quake heritage that the original didn't necessarily lean into. They weren't hiding it or anything. They were just going for a slightly more modern type of vibe. Now there is actually a performance benefit from this as well, because you've actually got essentially some broad, shallow finger grooves to hold onto, so there is going to be a little bit more grip than the standard version. Blade Steel's HCR13 MOV, nice black stone wash finish, looks really good. Fold that up, you can see we've got a deep carry pocket clip, one of the few new tip down carry pocket clips on the market these days, and it is nice and deep carry as well, right side only. And it still has a nice little ramp molded into the synthetic handles themselves. It's going to guide your pants hem or your pocket hem over the lip of that clip so it doesn't snag up. Finally, of course, we've got to talk about one of the strong points of the CEO. We've got ball bearings in the pivot, and the placement of this thumb stud is such that it snaps open super, super nicely. All right, finally, one more returning star from that video. In stock and shipping now is the Razor Cliff Compact. Razor Cliff Compact from CRKT coming in at about $25. Now, if you're familiar with the Razor blade shape, which is of course a combination of razor and chisel, this Wharncliffe adaptation, hence Razor Cliff, does have that kind of leading sharpened edge, just like all the other Razor knives, but you've got an almost stubby nature to this particular knife. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way whatsoever. What I like about it is this handle shape, despite feeling very short, or I should say looking very short, doesn't actually feel very short. Because it's nice and broad in this direction right here, there's still a good amount for your hands to hold onto, even with just the 3-finger grip that it provides for me. What that means for me is that despite that small size, this is going to be a pretty strong feeling utility knife. Of course, you have that leading edge, you could do some chisel-y things with it, and you also get a very acute point with those two edges coming together, whether you're using that for scoring, or piercing cardboard. Breaking down a lot of cardboard is going to work really nicely because you got a firm grip and an excellent blade geometry going on. 8CR13 MOV again, black stonewashed finish, and again, ball bearings, and IKBS bearings in the pivot. So you got really good flipping action, and it's just ready to go at a really good price. All right, finally, we've got a new knife, or actually some new variants from our friends at MKM, the Maniago knife makers. We've got new versions of the Clap, designed by Bob Trezzola. I almost said Lucas Burnley because they do some Burnley designs, and I was about to say we got a lot of Burnley here on the table, but this one's Bob T instead. But it's a really cool design. It came from sort of the initial release of knives from MKM that had some really cool handle materials available, some exotic woods, but they never had micarta before. Now they do. And you can get it with or without a titanium bolster. Prices on these start just under $200 for the micarta versions. We've got green and natural, and those come with an M390 blade, 3 inches in length, nice flipping action. And what's cool for the folks, for some folks in certain European Union countries that don't allow flippers, you can actually remove that flipper tab if you don't want it. That way it's out of the way, and you can just open it using the dual fullers on the blade itself. Now you may recognize that removable flipper tab as something Lion Steel does, and that's actually because this knife was made by Lion Steel. The MKM Guild, or the Maniago Knife Makers brand, is essentially a partnership between a number of Maniago Italy's finest knife makers, Lion Steel of course being one of those. Definitely feels like an Italian knife. You've got some crown surfaces both on the spine of the blade here, as well as on the liners all around. And it's just put together very nicely. It has that quality Lion Steel feel, whether you're just holding it or whether you're fidgeting with it or even cutting with it. I guess we should probably cut things with our knives, right? Instead of just playing with them and looking at them. But yeah, I'm guilty of doing that more than actually cutting too. But this is gonna do all of those things equally well. Now, one that I didn't grab, and I kind of wish I did now, there's a carbon fiber version with titanium bolsters with a Damasteel blade that's now available. That wasn't before. That one's a bit more expensive. It's a lot more expensive actually. Comes in about $500, but it is gonna look very, very cool. All right, folks, that's all I've got to show you for now. Make sure to let us know in the comments what you thought of these knives, which one was your favorites, what you liked, what you didn't like. Love to hear about it. In the meantime, if you want to get your hands on any of these cool knives, we will leave links in the description that'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're over there, do sign up for our Knife Rewards program while you're at it, because if you're going to buy one of these cool knives, you might as well earn some free money to spend on your next one. All right, folks, thanks for sticking around. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. It would really be a nice big help. And I hope you're all staying safe, sane, and sanitary out there. See you next time.